Now let's understand event trigger concept. So whenever certain event happens, what we can do is we can have some sort of style or appearance related change in the controls in hierarchy in WPF. So this is something we already have done before in case of animation application or the user control project. So we achieved this using something called as expression blend in other session. So now what we need to do is we need to programmatically, like I'm not going to use blend now, I'm just going to type it. So here's what we will have. We will have again a text label here or text block here. Let's put up height, let's put up width one more time. Let's put up some text into it. Let's call it as hello WPF. Now what we want to do is we would like to change the font property of this text block as and when some mouse over happens, and then we need to regain the default font size property. Let's call it as 18 once we take the mouse off or once the mouse leaves the text block area. So for that purpose, let's add a text block style first. So let's pick up text block style dot style. One more time, we will have a style, we will have target type mention as in text block so that we can get intelligence with respect to properties. And then we need to have here style triggers. Those triggers will be something called as event trigger. So in event trigger, we need to specify a routed event. So it's like there are two different ways of event handling in WPF. One is called as routed event, or ultimately event is raised from inner element to the outer elements. And then there is another one which is from outer to the inner. It's called tunneling. But default is routed event. So I need to specify here whenever mouse over happens, what we want to do is we need to have some sort of the execution of some code. But as we discussed earlier, we don't want to write down any piece of code in the code behind. So for that purpose, what we'll do is we will write down the animation in the form of storyboard. Ultimately, series of transitions that we will have here, transformations we will have here with respect to WPF controls. So I'm going to specify, I need to have here begin storyboard. Had it been a C# code, you would have seen that C# code begin is going to be a method with respect to storyboard object. So by default, I picked up here a routed event called as mouse over. Then I need to specify in event trigger itself one more parameter. So remember, mouse over is not recognized. I believe this should not be any problem. Okay, let's keep it as it is and let's continue writing. Later on, we'll figure out if there is anything wrong. So I need to have a begin storyboard. We can give a name to a storyboard in case we need to handle it in code behind, and then we can just say dot begin later on. Now I need to specify here storyboard, actual storyboard. And then we need to have here something called as double animation. In double animation, which is 2D animation, I just want to have something like, or ultimately timeline based animation. What we need to have here is a duration to be specified, like duration for the specific transformation to take place. So I'll specify 0, 0, 0, and the amount for which that transition or transformation needs to be achieved, I'll say 300 milliseconds. And then we need to specify here is that we need to ultimately go and bind it. So we need to have a transformation. We can specify like X angle, Y angle, or what we can do is we can specify, I want within this much amount of time, I want the property of the storyboard target. Let's call it as target property. So I want a font size to be increased to some value. So just like we have font size here, I'll specify I wish to have font size value to be given. So I need to specify 2 and let's take it to, let's say 30 over here. So I'm just trying to take the value of a font size to 30 from 18. And similar way, what we have to do is we will have to specify other thing that is going to be, let's finish the mouse over first, and maybe we can just copy paste this and we can make it as mouse out. So just like mouse over, we'll specify mouse leaf. Then we'll have storyboard. Then we will specify duration, that within, let's say, maybe same 300 milliseconds of time, we would like to have font size taken to, let's say, 18 one more time. So this seems okay as of now. So invalid property value for duration 000 300. Let's see if at all anything is wrong here. Okay, let's try this first. Okay, so we have a BAML generation problem. So somewhere we have made a mistake in creating XAML itself. So let's figure out what's wrong. Okay, this seems to be a problem. It's not mouse over, this is mouse enter. And later on what we have here is this value has to be 0.0.0.300. Now the colon 300 is okay. And then I should specify here 0.0.0 and 300 as it is. So string was not recognized as a valid time span. So I need to check here .300 if it is okay. Let's try running it again. Okay, still BAML generation problem we have. Now let's figure out what's wrong here. Okay, mistake is I should have mentioned here colon, another dot here, and I should have mentioned here time span format as in 0, colon, and dot here. So let's see whether it works now. Let's run it. So as and when I carry a cursor on here, it increases the font. If I take this out of the label, it decreases the font. So transition time is almost same. When I carry a cursor, it increases. When I carry it out in a same time span, what it does is it actually changes and regains its font value. So it's that way very simple. Now if you recall, we did something similar in this other example of hosting animation user control. So if I take you to animation user control project, which was demo animation, let's reload this project and let's see some double animation which was part of user control 1. So if I go to user control 1, you will find out there was a user control automatically added, a trigger automatically added. So by default, with respect to current user control, there was an event trigger with respect to button click, and the button was so and so. So our button did not have a specific name given then, so it was button as in name only. Then we specify begin storyboard. Currently we defined the storyboard in the event trigger itself. You can define the storyboard somewhere out just like it is defined here, and we can always have a name to a storyboard given like storyboard 1. And then in begin storyboard, then you just have to mention storyboard and bind it with storyboard 1. So a event trigger, that is button click with respect to so and so button. Let's begin the storyboard execution of double animation sequence, and then that's called storyboard 1. And if you recall, in storyboard 1 what we have is all series of double animations only in here, and those double animations and keyframes, kind of we can say generation is going to be too difficult through code, such code generation, than writing the such code generation or such code writing will be difficult than generating the code. So expression blend is the best tool to handle something called as storyboards and ultimately storyboard based event triggers. So I insist, in case you are looking for event triggers and you are looking for better animations, I suggest you go for expression blend. So I hope the demonstration made event trigger clear to all of you.